Whoa, whoa. Hello, everyone.
You got it.
Back on, yeah. Good afternoon. Welcome to another session on storyboarding. It's our fifth and final session of the storyboarding class that we've put on every Friday for the last 5 weeks, and it's been a really interesting and exciting course. We've learned about the basics about shot types, how to generate emotion. We've looked at insiders tips, and we've had some really interesting conversations with people in the industry. From Ian McPaig, a lecturer at the Southern University last week, and our very own Hatham, who give us an insight into the difference between shot types. Shot lists and storyboarding, and the relationship between the two. So we've covered quite a lot over the last 5 weeks, and it's been, like I say, it's been really good. So let's have a quick look at what we can expect today. So let's have a quick look here. Here we go. So over the course of the 4 sessions, we've covered quite a few techniques, and the last thing we're going to look at this session is suspense and drama in a little bit more detail. Last week we covered suspense and drama, and we got some really good tips from Ian on how to create drama, and and how we can develop our storyboarding so we can communicate exactly the right message that we're looking to do. So today we're going to look at a bit more about how to create that suspense and drama. We're going to have a look at some examples in a film that I picked out. We're going to look at some scene types, and then we're going to have a refresh on the whole course. Okay, so that's where we're at the minute. I'd just like to point our listeners to our enrollment forms, and as mentioned every week, our enrollment forms are really important for us to put on courses like this, because they allow us to demonstrate to our funders. In this scenario, it's a community fund from the National Lottery. It allows us to show them that we are interacting and delivering the courses that we've set out to do. So having learners enroll on our course, if you're watching back historically on this, if you wouldn't mind filling in our enrollment form, that'd be absolutely fantastic. It takes very little time at all, and this is what you can expect to see. So it's got basic information in there, and a little pathway through your journey of your learning. Okay, so if you just fill that in and send that back to us, our details are on our YouTube channel there. That would be absolutely fantastic. Okay, and those of you who followed us for the 5 weeks, we would really appreciate that, because like I mentioned before, it allows us to put these courses on. Okay, so we've also got a survey. Again, I point everyone to this at the end of each session and at the beginning, and because this is the end of the course, the end of the storyboarding course today, I would really urge you to fill in our survey. Again, it's a very simple form. You just click on the link that will be available on our YouTube channel, and fill in the basic information. How was today's session? You can explain if you ever got a bit more information or a bit more detail as to what your experience was with the session today, so on and so forth. Okay, and that will really help us in developing our delivery in future. Okay, so that's the boring stuff out of the way. Let's move on. So we've seen where we've come from so far. Course 1, session 1, sorry, on the course, we looked at we looked at the audience, and looking at storyboarding from the audience's point of view, how important clarity is in in your storyboards and conveying the right level of information at the right time. We moved on to session 2, where we looked at shot lists and storyboarding, and we had a chat with Hatham about that. Moved on to session 3, where we looked at the story and the character and the relationship between the two. Had some insiders tips in what punctuation within your storyboarding would do, and what effect that would have on your story, and emotion and the importance of emotion within your storyboard. We moved on. Our last session last week was suspense and drama, with a little conversation with Ian McPhaig, senior lecturer at Sunderland University, and he gave us some really good tips as to how we can enhance our storyboards and what we need to consider. Okay, so note from session 4. Anybody who's watching at the minute live, it'll be much appreciated if you have any feedback from last session. If you want to put that in the live chat, that'd be fantastic. Just want to quickly go over Ian's 3 tips. We managed to get 3 really important tips out of Ian last week, and he talked about the importance of writing a brief script and how that could be used before you even start your storyboarding. A little bullet point or a little paragraph to kind of jot down that key information that you're trying to communicate through your storyboard. Then you can base your storyboard off your little script. Doesn't need to be in detail, but again, if your story is quite complex, then it might need to be. But it just gives you the bones to refer to. Okay, so write a brief script is one of these points. Practice. Now that's key, isn't it? Practicing is one of the most important things that we can do. We're not going to be perfect straight away, and we probably never will be perfect, but we'll definitely improve every time we practice and learn from our mistakes. So practicing doing our storyboards, that might be practicing writing your scripts, that might be practicing different shot types, it might be practicing your sketching within your storyboards. Just practice, and don't be afraid to make those mistakes. One other important point that Ian mentioned last week was learning your toolbox. That's what you comes straight from Ian's mouth there. Learn your toolbox. So as we've looked at, if I just come out of this presentation for a minute and zoom a little bit further back, I think I was pointing you to this analogy, which was the story is comprised, or the storyboard is comprises of many different ingredients to make the final cake, if you like, and in order to produce that final cake, or storyboard, we need to understand what ingredients need to go into it. Okay, so learning our toolbox is really, really important in terms of having an effective storyboard that conveys a message that we intend to convey effectively to the audience. Okay, and one of the things that I was really interested in trying to look into for you guys was how to create suspense and drama, because I think that those 2 elements there are really key in making your audience want to tune in to your storyboard, into your story, engage in with your story, and hang on until the very end. Okay, and that's really important, because we might have a story to tell, but if we're not doing it the right way, when the audience is going to lose interest very quickly. So that was that. Let's have a look. Suspense in the storyboard. Yeah, we looked at that last week, and as mentioned, let's quickly go back. We looked at 5 points to creating suspense. Music plays a significant part in building suspense within a film. You just need to watch any film, any drama, documentary on TV, or even audio book, or any kind of story, whichever way you want to receive it. Music can play a really important part in that. Okay, so bear that in mind when it comes to building your story for your storyboards. Building emotion within your character, because the character is that main communication tool to our audience, and building emotion and interest within that character was really important. But building a story behind the character as well. We're not going to believe a character if we haven't bought into that character. So our emotional tie as an audience with that character is understanding what makes them tick in a way. So we are invested a little bit more into their story and their journey, and that's what the storyboard's all about. It's about the journey of the character along a time frame. So we moved on to extreme decisions, and that's something that's linked to the character, where the character it has to make really important decisions along that journey, along that story, and because we're emotionally invested within that character and the story, we are hanging on to those decisions and second guessing the outcomes of those decisions. Okay, so that's a really important area that we need to consider. Space was an area that was we considered last week, where we look at how we use a camera and how we convey that space within our panels of our storyboard, each scene, and how we frame that space within the storyboard, and that's where your shot types can come in there, your camera movements and things like that, and then time as well. How are we timing what things are happening within that storyboard? Are we telling our audience everything right at the very beginning, or are we drip feeding them little bits of information and being really controlled with what we're offering the audience in terms of building suspense? Okay, so that's the 5 things that we looked at last week in terms of building suspense. Let's have a quick look now at one tip that I picked up actually before we move on. Had a homework task last week, and we're going to look at that in a minute. But one thing that follows on to what I'm just talking about there is basically an industry tip to build suspense effectively. Was a suggestion that I read online, or actually it was within a book, within a storyboarding book that I was reading. It was about looking at how we construct our story. Now, typically, as a viewer, when we're watching a film or a documentary or something like that, we have a question that needs to be answered at the very beginning. Right at the start of that process, we've got a question that we need answered as an audience, and then at the end we have our conclusion, don't we? Okay, but one tip that I picked up was that we switch that round, so that the end we have the end point and work our way backwards to the start. So once we know our end point and what the punchline of that story is, then the suggestion was that the starting point becomes a bit more clearer, and it allows us to be a bit more focused in how we communicate that story. Now, it doesn't mean that your story has to start at the end and finish at the beginning. It just means that if we start at the end when we're writing our script, then we can switch it round, and it might give us a bit more clearer direction as to how we build our story from the beginning. Okay, so that was a really good tip, and I thought I'd share that with you guys today. Right, so today's session we're going to look at suspense and drama continued. We're going to look at tools for the toolbox, different shot types, and frame shots with characters this time, and then we're going to do an overall recap of the course. All right, just going to quickly have a quick look at our live chat there. Feel free to chat, put some comments in our live chat if you're watching, if you've got anything that you would like me to cover or anything like that. Whack it in there, and I'll keep on popping my head into the live chat and make sure everyone's happy. All right, so the activity from last week, it was going to be the session activity, but we ran over talking to Ian, and we had some fantastic conversation with him, and we pushed our activity to homework. And the activity was to produce a 9-panel storyboard twice, 9-panel storyboard to create suspense using the following script. Now, what we did was we decided during the session to try and put a little twist on this activity and try and employ some of Ian's suggestions in our activity. So what we actually did was we created a script live. So that was one of Ian's top tips, to create a script before we go into our storyboard. And that's what we did. We used the live chat. People put some cracking suggestions into a storyboard, into a story idea. We then built a little script up, which you see now in front of you, and then the storyboard activity, which was our homework, then we then based our homework off that. Okay, so the script became let's go back a minute. The script became a story about somebody finding a wallet. Okay, and then we had some suggestions that a person could go into a different world once they found this wallet and they opened the wallet. We had some suggestions about what could happen to kind of convey that suspense, and we ended up having a suggestion of the camera shaking and having sound to build that suspense of that person going into a different world. And then the overall story is the person is in the other world and they're trying to find their way back. The person is stopped by a zombie, and we call that zombie A. We had we employed extreme close-ups and quick flicking between the shots to build suspense again. The person sees a zombie and runs away. And then we ended up having a zombie Doberman, which was another suggestion from one of our listeners, which was a great suggestion because one of Familia Savvy's mascot is Diego the Doberman. So we had a zombie Doberman in there, and he helps the person go back into the world that they left. Okay, so that was a story, the script to that story, and the activity was to create a 9-panel script. And if you remember, the panels to a storyboard are boxes that show each scene. Okay, so this is my sketch from my storyboard. This is a little photograph from it, and I'll just quickly talk you through what my thoughts were. If you guys have got your homework to hand, please send it in and we'll have a look at that as well. And that'll be fantastic to show everybody else what everyone else has been working on. But I'll quickly talk you through mine now. So the first scene I've quickly wrote here, a busy street point of view shot from the characters crossing the road, busy cars, there's traffic, there's lots of traffic, there's lots of noise, and then character spots something in the road. That was the first panel. And then I've put arrows in there in different colours to show that the camera's zooming in on this area. And then it moves to panel 2, where the character spots a bulging wallet and the traffic is driving over it. Okay, and then I've got a quick, really rough sketch there that took literally seconds to do. I've highlighted the wallet in red so we can see what the focus is of that scene and the direction in which the car's traveling. Okay, moving on to panel 3. The character, again, this is from the point of view, POV, point of view from the character, looks left and right and runs to grab the wallet. And then there's like a noise, and this is a scene. Moving on to scene 4. I think this is scene 4. Yeah, that's it. Scene 4, where the wallet is opened, and then we've got like a lot of suspense and noise and everything, and we get sucked into a different world. This next scene shows nothing. It's dark, and it's like there's just like noise and little noise and maybe some drips of water in the background. And then you see the character blink, and then right in the face of the character, from the point of view of the character, you see this screaming zombie, which again creates suspense. This shot here would be probably a close-up or an extreme close-up, showing you this menacing character right in front of our character, who we are, because as the audience we are the character, because it's the point of view of the character. Okay, so that's a massive shock to the character. We blinking again, it's black. The characters, you just hear running footsteps, so where the character is trying to run away from this. There's panic, there's sounds of running, there's sounds of a dog chasing. Then we move on to the 8th panel, where you see a zombie dog. And again, there's more suspense because we've just ran away from a zombie and we're seeing a zombie dog now. And then let's have a look. The dog. Let's go back. Sorry, the dog pants, whines, and then it starts to wag its tail, suggesting that it's not posing any danger to our character. Okay, we move on to the 9th panel of the activity, where the dog leads the character out of the portal. Okay, so that was my take on that script that we put together as a group last week. Okay, if you guys have got any input into this or into your version of the script, that'd be fantastic, because although the script is it sets a direction of what the story is, everybody's interpretation of it would be would be completely different. So that'd be great to see what you guys come up with. All right, so that was a homework activity. Right, let's just have a quick look where we are now. So what I would like for us to look at today, on the theme of this slightly, is a little bit more industry tips. Okay, a little bit more tools for your toolbox, if you like. And I want to look into shot framing now. Okay, and this is really, really important, really. And once you're made aware of this, if you don't already know about shot framing, this will really help you in constructing your storyboards, and it's a really good in consideration. But it's always a good awareness for when you're watching films and dramas and documentaries yourself, because you'll be able to identify these, and when you can identify them, you'll be able to see and kind of reflect on what each of these shots are making you feel. All right, so I've got 9 shot frames that I would like to show you now, and I've found a really, really good signpost, if you like, a really good link to a place called Storyboard. Now, this is something that Ian pointed out last week, which was a really good resource for filmmakers and people in the filmmaking industry. And this has a wealth of knowledge and wealth of information, about different elements to filmmaking, storyboarding, script writing, and so on and so forth. So without me waffling on anymore, my throat's getting dry as it is, I'm going to use this clip, and I'm going to just show you this little video about techniques and tips from the industry about shot framing. And this is down to shot framing for characters. Okay, so I think this is about 5 to 8 minute little clip, and it's just going to talk you through very, very quickly the different considerations we need to think about when we're framing characters within a scene. All right.
In the previous episode of the Shot List, we broke down all the most commonly used shot sizes in the filmmaker's toolbox. But once the camera shot size is determined, the question becomes, How should I compose the subjects in each frame?
And action, Dirk.
This is episode 2 of The Shot List. Framing. Now, let's get into the proper frame of mind. These are the most commonly used framing options to cover action in a scene.
I've never seen anything like this.
Singles, which can be clean or dirty. Two-shot. Over the shoulder. Point of view. And finally, the insert. Our first framing convention, the single. A single shot features one character alone in the frame. The individual character is the primary focus. But there are two ways to frame a single. A clean single is when no part of any other character is visible in the frame. It's best used when you want to convey a character's isolation. Whereas a dirty single includes a limited presence from another character in the frame. And don't forget that singles, like all of the framing options, can be combined with any of the shot sizes we covered in the last video. Whether it's a close-up, a medium shot, or a wide shot, the single still applies. When two characters are visible together in frame, this is called the two-shot.
Don't sing if you want to live long.
The orientation of the characters to one another can vary, but to be considered a two-shot, both faces must be clearly visible. The two-shot is all about creating a visual relationship between two characters. This relationship might be affectionate, contentious, or even imaginary. When more characters are added to the frame, the terminology adjusts to three-shot, four-shot, and so on. There is no official limit on how high this number can go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But numbering this would be overkill. Best to just call it a crowd shot. Remember that no matter how many characters you include in a single frame, you are creating a relationship between them. The most common and useful way of covering a conversation is the over-the-shoulder shot. An OTS shot acts like a hybrid between a single and a two-shot, and similar to a single, we're often only focusing on one character at a time. From these OTS angles, we get perspectives from both sides and a sense that we are included in the moment.
Can I help you?
I hope so. I'm an old friend of George's. Thought I'd stop and say hello.
When you want the audience to experience the perspective of a character, it can be effective to frame up a point of view or POV shot. The idea of the POV can cover a wide range of perspectives. A person, an alien, a camera, a disembodied spirit, or even a shark. In many cases, a POV shot is also paired with POV audio, so we can see what they see and hear what they hear. The insert shot is not just about going extremely tight on a detail. The way the information is framed is often even more important than how prominent it is on screen. Inserts can also be combined with POV shots, a first-person perspective. Or are we looking at the insert shot from a third-person perspective? Or a hybrid frame like this, both an elegant insert and an effective POV. We've covered the most common types of camera framing, but now let's put it all together. Let's look at Bong Joon-ho's Parasite.
Okay guys, so that was a really good overview on the different types of shots we have to capture characters within our stories, okay, and that was presented by Studio Binder. The link is within our presentation here. So this presentation, the entire full presentation for the 5-week course, will be available on our YouTube channel, and you can just follow the links if you want to look into these a little bit more, okay. So that was really good, and as mentioned in that video, there's a lot more information, a lot more other videos available that will probably detail a lot of the things that we've covered in our sessions over the last 5 weeks. So that was a really good little insight, really, that showed some other considerations we need to think about for our toolbox, which Ian mentioned last week. Okay, let me just have a quick look on our chat and make sure everyone's happy. Okay, just give us a shout if to make sure that you're receiving this all right. We just had a little pop up from YouTube to say that we've got an issue with our video, so give us a shout and make sure you're watching this all right and it's coming across clearly to you. All right, okay, let's move on. One thing that I found quite interesting, again, I would love to share with you to help you enhance the drama within your storyboards, was this little timeline that I came across earlier on today. Now, this timeline shows the relationship between the drama that we add in our story and the time in which it takes to get there. Okay, and then this pink line here shows the journey that we're going through. It's from the starting point to the end point up here. That's the journey. That's the story. That is the story or the storyboard. Okay, and our expectation goes along this way. But then what happens? How many of you guys have experienced this, and you've got to this point here, and whatever your expectation has been within the film, it just kind of happens to be that way? How do you feel when that happens? Can you give me any examples or any feedback, guys, in our live chat to give us a quick understanding from your point of view what that journey feels like to you, if it just typically goes from there to there to there to there, and you can kind of work out what's going to happen here just by the way that the story's panning out. Give us a shout back. Give us a shout on our live chat just to see your point of view on this little chart. Now, one way of creating drama within our storyboards and our stories is to create a twist. Okay, and a twist is a different course of that story. Okay, it kind of defies where our expectation is here, and it creates drama and it creates interest within that story. Okay, and I would like for you guys to give us a quick shout in our live chat there. Let's just give us a quick shout back in our live chat to give us an idea on give us your interpretation of a good twist, and what films you've seen that have a brilliant twist in there. Let's just have a quick look at this for 1 minute, guys. I'm just getting a little message here from YouTube to say that we're not streaming smoothly, so please give us a shout if you're having any issues there, and we'll see if we can resolve that. Okay, looking at my my feedback at the minute, my little preview, everything seems to be running fine. But you let us know, that'd be great. Okay, so yeah, give us a suggestion or some suggestions of what films or anything that has a twist in there, and what and how that made you feel when you've watched a film or a story. Okay, I've got a one, and I would like to show you that now. And it's a Sixth Sense. This is a quick. It's not the film. It's a kind of an overview of the film and a kind of a summary of the twist. So if you don't want to know this, please tune out for a couple of minutes. But seeing as though this film's been out for nearly 20 years, I think you might already know the twist. But here's a quick link to the film, and it's starting now.
Very dry, sensitive skin? Aveeno intensely nourishes the skin. Formulated with... I want to tell you my secret now.
M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense is the definitive twist-ending movie. But its stroke of genius is that it actually tells us the twist halfway through.
I see dead people.
Young Cole can communicate with ghosts, and that includes the man he's looking right at as he says this, our protagonist, Malcolm Crowe. We saw Malcolm killed in the opening scene, even though we, and he, don't grasp this until much later.
It doesn't hurt anymore.
Shyamalan has said that the movies with twist endings that he always comes back to are Planet of the Apes and Psycho, films where, in his words, what you thought you saw you did not see.
Are you sure you saw an old woman?
Yes, in the house behind the motel.
This is the guiding principle of The Sixth Sense. We thought we were watching a story about a child psychologist dealing with a crumbling marriage, but that's not actually what we saw. The idea that most of the time we aren't seeing what's in front of us isn't just the source of the film's magic trick, it's also one of its central themes.
Something up there? I don't see anything.
The way that Shyamalan puts all the clues right before our eyes, yet makes us miss their real meaning, reinforces how primed we are to accept the surface narrative we're given. So, as The Sixth Sense turns 20 this year, here's our take on how the movie's singular surprise ending proves its central thesis, that at the movie theater and in our own lives, we see what we want to see.
Okay, guys, excuse the advert at the beginning, it wasn't intended, but unfortunately with YouTube, sometimes that happens, as you've probably already come across yourself if you use YouTube. I had to pop out there to get me charger, because I saw my laptop was dying there, and seeing as though we're live, I didn't want that to kind of cut short our session. So yeah, that really was a little overview on The Sixth Sense, and how we got a really good twist there that if you weren't made aware of it before, kind of changed your direction of where you thought the film was going. Well, it did for me anyway. And I think once you know a twist to a film, once I know a film twist, I don't really tend to watch the film again, because you already know what the twist is. However, as mentioned by the narrator to that video, watching it again allows you to pick up on some more hints and suggestions that you may have missed first time round. So it's probably worthwhile watching that film again just to see what else the director has included in that storyline. Okay, so as we can see there, twists are really key really to creating that sense of drama within. We looked at so far and what have we learned. So if we quickly go back, we've looked at suspense today, how we can include suspense in our storyboards. We've looked at how using twists we can create drama. We've looked at different shot types, not shot types as in extreme close-ups, wide shots, and establishing shots. We're looking at shot types as in how we frame characters, and we looked at our little homework task from last week. We're going to have a little break in about 15 minutes time, as we always do halfway through the session. But before then, we're going to move on to our activity for today's session, which is going to be to create a 12-point script for a storyboard that shows someone making a cup of tea or coffee. Okay, and we need to include a twist, and we need to include 3 framing types that we've just looked at. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at now. If anybody's available on the chat, please give us please interact with us like we did last week, and we'll try and create that a quick script for that for this activity. And then after the little break, we'll go into sketching that out, okay, and doing our own storyboard for this activity. Now, I've been determined to get this activity into today, well, not today's session, but throughout the 5-week course. I've been determined to get in this boring sounding activity to make a cup of coffee. It's something that we're all familiar with doing, and when I was at university years and years ago, I heard of this project, and I thought it was a really quick, simple and easy project because we could all relate to it. So I've been trying to get this into the session the 5-week course, and I'm going to put it into this one because I think it's going to be a really easy way to try and incorporate some of the things that we've learned in this in today's session and the sessions prior. Okay. Again, please interact with us on our live chat, and we will try and incorporate some of your ideas into it. Now, let's have a look now at creating this script. So I'm going to quickly whack in a new slide, and I'm going to change that slide here, and I'm going to call this script. Now, the first point to this activity is we need to create a 12-point script, okay, and it needs to show somebody making a cup of coffee. So if anyone's got any suggestions, we'll include that into our script. But I'm going to start off with point 1, which would be maybe the kettle boiling, okay, sound of the kettle boiling, black screen, or maybe a view. I'm thinking about how I make coffee at home, and I have a window right next to the kettle, so I'm going to say point of view, looking out of kitchen window, kettle boiling in the background. So that's our first point. Create a little point there. And for those of you who are interested in any other courses that we might be putting on, I'm actually using Google Slides for this presentation, and all the presentations that I've done since we started this storyboarding class. And we have a Google Drive's 5-week course which started yesterday. Okay, so we've got session 2 for that coming up next Thursday, and we're looking into the different programs that is offered for free from Google. Okay, so if you're interested in that, the first session went live yesterday, so you can go on our social you can look onto our social media account, or you can go onto our YouTube channel, and you'll find that last session from yesterday if you're interested in how I'm creating this presentation. Okay, for our activity, the first point is point of view looking out the window, kettle boiling. Right, what else have we got going on when we make a cup of tea? Something. Let's try and jazz this story up a little bit, because it is a bit boring that somebody's making a cup of tea. So we could say, let's say, character is making turns to shelf to get cups and ingredients, sugar, etc. Character turns to shelf to get cups, so we've cubs, let's say cups, spell that correctly, and we're going to highlight that because we haven't seen any other characters in this scene as yet. Okay, so character turns to get 2 cups, let's say 2 cups, and shouts asking a second person if they want a drink. Let's take that out for a minute. Let's say 1 cup, and then you hear the third. Let's say the third point could be you hear here. Second person shouting yes. First character, and then I'll put in brackets the person who's in the point of view. Start to make a second cup. Kettle boils. Right. Point of view of steam. Looking at steam. And then we could have, let's have a look at, let's quickly, right, so we're telling a story here. I'm just doing this right off the cuff, but we've got the point of view of somebody looking out of a kitchen window. So let's try and tie that in a bit. Let's try and get a bit more information and a bit more interest from there. So what could they be looking at while they're waiting for the kettle to boil? Let's say they're seeing somebody's car getting broken into. Let's say character sees someone looking suspicious at a car in the neighbour street. Okay, and then the 0.5 can then come back to point of view, character looking out of the window, seeing car now getting brought into. So we've got a link now. So we've got two kind of narratives going on. We've got the street. Let's take that out. So point of view of looking out of a kitchen window, character sees somebody looking suspicious at a car, and then in the background or the foreground it would be that the kettle's boiling. Okay, I'll say foreground. Character turns to the shelf, gets 1 cup and coffee. Gets bits and pieces to make the coffee, and asks a second person who we can't see if they want a drink. You hear a yes getting shouted, and and then the first character point of view starts making the second cup. Kettle boils. Point of view someone looking at steam. Blah blah blah. Let's have a look, and then the character looks out the window again, sees a car getting broken into. Right. So we've got a character here that's witnessing something happening and going about their normal business. Okay, we don't really have any emotional tie at the minute between this character. We're just watching this process getting unfold in front of us. We don't know what's going to happen, but we need to be aware of what information we as storytellers are giving to the audience, and when we're giving the audience the information. So let's try and build some emotion into this character. How can we link the character to link the audience to the character? Let's put some more points in here, right? Let's say character is acting frustrated, banging cups and tidying loudly tidying around the kitchen sink. So that really kind of I'm just going to copy that, duplicate that slide so we've got a bit more space to continue our story. Change that numbering from, I think it's 6. Okay, let's have a look. 7 maybe. 7. There we go. Right, so we now know that the character is frustrated because of the way they're behaving. They're banging cups loudly while they're making a cup of coffee. Okay, the character turns to get one cup, and then he or she asks if there's a second person there if they want a cup of coffee. Now, because of this behavior, if we will look at the story unfold in front of us, we need to try and understand what the relationship is between these two characters. Okay, and we want to understand why we've shown somebody's car getting broken into. I'm going to stop there because we're halfway through that storyline. Okay, and I was using this really to demonstrate how creating a story can be quite complex, can't it? When you're making up a story on the fly, it definitely can be quite complex because we really don't know where we're going. You could see from the way I was creating these points, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I knew I wanted to communicate the idea of a cup of coffee getting made, and then nothing else. And then I started to come up with other ideas in and amongst that, but really didn't have any direction. But if you remember, guys, right at the very beginning, I suggested that we need to have a beginning and an end, and it was a really good idea from an industry tip that I picked up this week to have the end, to start with the end and end at the start. Okay, so if you remember, we all, as an audience member, we always end up having a question, don't we? We have a question that we need to get answered through the journey of the storyboard. We then gather the information, what witness actors and characters get go along their journey and their path, and then it really reaches a conclusion. But one really useful tip was to start at the end and figure out what it is we were trying to say within our story. Now, if we fast forward to my my attempt at the script, we can see I clearly had no direction whatsoever going in. We're making it up as we go along. Okay, and that was halfway through the script. What we're going to look at now is, well, in the next half of this session, is we're going to tackle this activity in the way of having the end point in mind. Okay, we're going to have the end of the story in mind before we start this script, and I'm going to try and use this to demonstrate how easy or how helpful it can be to use that technique in terms of building your story. And then once we've built our 12-point script, we're going to then look at trying to sketch it out. All right. So what we're going to do now in the next minute or two, guys, we're going to break for 10 minutes. We're going to come back, and then we're going to employ this technique, starting the story at the end and working our way back and trying to build that story up with a bit more focus and direction. Okay, we're going to try and employ a twist in there. Okay, and that was what I was trying to convey in this first attempt at the script. But as you can see, I was failing quite successfully in doing that, because I was just making it up as I went along. I didn't have any direction. So in the next half of the session, we're going to start that script again. We're going to use that technique. We're going to try and whack a twist in there as well to create our drama, and we're going to try and include 3 of the framing techniques that we've learned about here at the first half of the session. All right, if you guys have got any suggestions whatsoever that can help with this script building, please let us know in our live chat, and we'll try and implement them into the script. But we're going to have a little break for now, 10-minute break. We're going to come back at say 2:05, just after 2:05, and then we're going to continue with that script. All right, guys, so we're going to go to our break now, and we'll see you back at 2:05. Okay. Okay, guys, back after our little break there. Just want to welcome everyone back once again. This is our final session of our storyboarding course, our 5-week storyboarding course. We've covered quite a lot over the last 5 weeks. And what we're looking at now, for those of you who haven't been with us in the first half of this session, is putting a quick script together that incorporates a twist and some framing types. Okay. Now, last session, for those of you who weren't part of the session last week, we had some really good suggestions given to us by a media lecturer at Sunderland University, and he suggested that creating a script would give us a really good focused direction in creating our storyboards. Okay. During this session, during this final session, we had an activity to look at. Okay, and the activity was to create a 12-point script based on that suggestion from Ian from last week. A script for a storyboard to show someone making a cup of coffee. Okay, we need to include a twist and 3 framing types. From there, I built a little script, and I got to 0.6 before I completely bored myself to tears and didn't have a clue on where I was going. And this was really to demonstrate the importance of having some direction. Okay, so the script is all well and good, but we need to know what the story is. Okay, and now some people might find it useful to go through that process, but I certainly didn't. Okay, so one technique I'm going to try and employ is starting at the end of our story, and bear with me a minute. Starting at the end of the story with the conclusion. What is the end kind of part of the story going to be? And then I'm going to work my way back. I'm going to try and use that to try and establish some focus and some direction in my script. Okay, so those of you who want to participate, please feel free to log in, to communicate and chat with us on our live chat, and I'll try and incorporate some of your suggestions in there. But what we're going to do now is we're going to try and compose this script using this technique, starting at the end and working our way back to the start before we tackle the storyboarding side to this activity. All right, so let's have a quick look here where we're at. We're here, and that's great. So what I thought about when we had a little break was the fact that I clearly didn't have any kind of idea on where the story was going. Okay, so what we need to do really is have the end in mind. Okay, so, and we're also trying to incorporate the twist to the story. So with the end in mind, I'm going to start backwards, and I'm going to say that what I'm going to look at doing is trying to create a kind of a comedy version of a comedy version or comedy narrative that employs those techniques that we've talked about. Okay, so the twist being that the person who was offered a drink was poured the wrong drink. Okay, and then we're going to use extreme close-ups and things like that to create suspense and just try and make a comedy kind of scenario out of this kind of really simple task. So so the final scene could be that we could see the point of view of the character shot on face. Okay, so before that we'll have the second character, a shot on face, and remember we're going to use a close-up, but it's also going to be a over-the-shoulder shot. And if you remember from earlier on in the session, we were looking at different kind of framing types, and part of our activity was to include 3 framing types. So the first framing type that we're going to use is well, this will be the second actually, because point of view is the first. So the second framing type we're going to use is close up, and then I'm going to put slash over the shoulder, and I'm just going to say over TS for over the shoulder. Okay, then so remember we're working our way, let's take these numbers out for the time being and turn them into points instead, because I think the numbers are a little bit misleading. We're working our way from the back from the end. So the second character say is this is a close-up again, close-up. I'm going to say over the shoulder of the second character as well. And then we'll have a bit of dialogue saying I wanted coffee or I wanted tea. Okay, so what happened before that then? So you've got the last shot of the character, it's over the shoulder, it's close up over the shoulder of character 2, over the shoulder, and I'll put in character 2. Shot on the face of character 1. Character 2, there's a close-up of character 2 over the shoulder from character 1. I want a tea from character 2, and then let's say point of view, and I'll put in brackets character 2. Insert shot maybe. Shot of cup with teaspoon and coffee granules. Floating cup. So we're working our way back. So we've got the shotgun character 1's face once they've realised that they've made the wrong cup of tea, cup for the person. We've got character 2 who's like dramatically making a big scene out of getting the wrong drink. We've got the point of view from character 2 of them looking. I can't spell. Let me just do a quick spell check here. The point of view of character 2 who got the wrong drink, looking into the cup. So what happens before that then? Let's say you could have character 1 offering, and this could be a mid shot maybe. Let's put mid shot in there. character 1 offering cup to character 2, and then maybe a little note, character 1 looking pleased with themselves. So now that we've got the starting point, hopefully this is really giving, well, it's definitely helping me because I understand what kind of story I'm trying to tell now, and I know what kind of style we're playing with. Remember, this is going to be a comedy now, more of a comic. It's going to have more of a comic value. So first, from the very beginning, in comparison to creating the script before our break, where we had no direction, didn't have a clue what we were talking about. We had a character looking out of a window and seeing a car getting broken into at one point, but that had no connection with what we're actually trying to achieve, and then trying to like worm other bits and pieces in to try and make links. And then here we've got a lot more direction, a lot more of a clarity. Okay, and if you remember from session 1, clarity was one of the key points to creating our story, and I feel as though we're getting that now, using that technique that was mentioned at the beginning of the session, where we're using the end of the story at the beginning, so we know what we want to try and achieve. Now, I'm not saying this is the way to do it. It's certainly helping me. Now, you might find that process at the very beginning that we done before the session, before the break to the session, quite a cool way of getting all your ideas out there. But I'm using this one just to try and demonstrate how effective it can be. Okay, so there's not a right or wrong, but I actually think this is helping me a lot better than the previous technique, or lack of technique, if you like. So basically, we've got a comic script utilizing the techniques that we've been looking at over the last few sessions. We're using a dramatic twist, and this is where the twist is. I think the twist here is when the character wanted tea instead of coffee. We've got using loads of different framing shots here. We've got over the shoulders, we've got close-ups of different camera shots. Maybe we've got a close-up over the shoulder, but we can have maybe dramatic zoom from mid shot to close-up. And then I'm going to create a new slide here. Get rid of some of this, and here we go. So we're building up this story, and it has a lot more direction than it did before. All right, we've got 4 points there. The activity is suggesting that we have 12 points, but let's see how we get on with another 4 points, and then we're going to try and move on to the storyboarding part of it. Okay, so where we're at now, we've got a mid shot of the character offering mid shot of character 1 offering character 2 the cup. The character 1 looks quite pleased with themselves, and then what we can do is maybe say character the 1 point of view, and I'm just going to be general here, making 2 cups. Now, remember a few sessions ago we talked about drama here, and that's what's going through my mind at the minute. It's creating kind of an emotional link to the character. Now, I was trying all kinds of different ways to do that in the first half of this activity, and I think I failed. So I want to try and create an emotional tie or emotional link between the audience and character 1. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to try and have the next couple of scenes in the storyboard showing character 1 being really considerate and really careful in making these 2 perfectly made cups of coffee. Okay, so I'm going to say carefully being extremely careful making cups, and we'll pop up there, maybe it's going to be really rough, but selecting the best cups on the shelf. How else can they be considerate? Maybe looking into the cups, carefully cleaning them, and carefully measuring out the right quantity of coffee. We can also have, I'm going to put another point there, character 1, and I think this might be part of the same scene. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly stick that in there. Character 1, looking, maybe point of view of character 1. Selecting a expensive coffee from the back of the cupboard. How do we know it's expensive? Maybe we can have a shot, another insert shot, where it's kind of a third person, maybe. Now, I'm not sure any of this is, you know, I'm sure if Ian looked at this, he'd probably have lots and lots of ways to pick this story, this script apart. And I'm not by any stretch saying that I'm a film or film writer or anything like that. But what I'm trying to do is demonstrate some of the techniques and tools that was picked up over the last 5 weeks. Okay, so some of these, the combination of some of these techniques might not be industry standard, should I say, but you should be able to see how effective some of these could be, and obviously with continuing your learning, you'll be able to make a better job of this when you've got a bit more time than I have doing it live on this channel. But we're going to have a quick insert shot, maybe third person, of the expensive looking coffee jar with a price tag, and I'm going to leave it there. Okay, we'll see where we end up when we do when we start doing the actual storyboarding. So where are we at the minute? We've got we have a nice script now with a little bit more direction. It's more of a comic strip this time. Not a comic strip, sorry, a script, and it's basically showing somebody making a cup of tea, but with kind of a spoof kind of scenario where you have somebody really carefully making a cup of tea for somebody, a cup of coffee for somebody, you know, going to extra lengths to make sure picking the right cups and cleaning the cups and etc. Choose an expensive coffee, and then at the end they hand the coffee over to think that they've done a good job, and then the second person like kind of is in shock because they didn't want coffee, they wanted tea, and that was like the kind of twist. Okay, that kind of employs some of the techniques that we've looked at this first half of the session, and some of the techniques we've picked up along the way from session 1 all the way to session 5. So let's have a look now at trying to move this on to our storyboard. Now let's have a look here. What I'm going to do, guys, is we've done a few different techniques and used a few different tools in creating our storyboards. We used a program right early on in the course called Storyboard that, and if you haven't come across that, it's this. And it was a really cool website that allowed us to create our own storyboards. Okay, it had lots and lots of different. Let's see if I can quickly get into it or not. I'll have to log in, but there's lots and lots of different preset characters and scenes that allowed us to create our storyboards really quickly and easily. Okay, and that was there we are. There's the that's if you can remember this from last a few weeks ago, we used this, and we could we had scenes here where we could drag scenes in. You could add characters in there, and there's loads of different types of characters, different characters and different with different styles of characters, different clothes and etc. And it really allowed us to easily build our scenes there. Okay, then we moved on to hand sketching, and we sketched for a couple of sessions to just try and demonstrate to you that you didn't need to be an artist or a Picasso to try and get across your ideas quickly and easily. Okay, what I'm going to try and attempt to do now is I'm going to try and use the basic tools within this presentation slide to create our little storyboard from our script. If you just bear with me 1 minute, I'm just going to have a look at that now. So I'm going to create a new slide. I'm going to put the storyboard on there, and what you can do with this tool and technique is you can create your boxes in there. Okay, so I'm going to create 3 boxes, and these are our panels for our storyboard. And as you can see, I've quickly made our panels there, so that's quite easy to do. Now, if you wanted to then add some text underneath, you can, and that's quite easy by clicking the text button, and then we can create our little text boxes underneath. And these text boxes can be have some information in there, and you can drag them and copy them under each of our panels there. Okay. In here you can change the colors, and we're going to just have them as white backgrounds or transparent. And then in the first one, I'm going to copy the information from our script. From our script. So there's the first little point from our script. I'm going to just reduce the text down a bit, maybe 12 might be enough, or maybe say 8, so a bit more information in there. Get that point out, and what I'm trying to show you here is you can very quickly and easily build up your storyboard using something similar to this Google Slides or what's the Microsoft version, it's PowerPoint. That's it. So you could use that to build up your storyboards really quickly and easily as well, and then print them out. And as you can see, I'm just copying and pasting the information from our script and putting them in. But remember guys, this is going back from back to front, so we'll just go from back to front first, and then we can just swap them around a little bit later. But I'm just trying to show you here how we can quickly and easily build up our storyboard. So let's reduce that size. There we go. Take those points out. Okay, so what have we got? Point of view of a character, close up, over the shoulder, shotgun face of character 1. So what I'm going to do is going to use some really basic shapes here, and I'm going to try and use this shape here, and I'm going to try and demonstrate, to try and show somebody's like maybe body. And I'll put the head in there, and these are just really basic shapes. This is a really good way, I would suggest, excuse me, for building up your storyboard without having too much detail in there. And then we can have, if you look at the shapes available, we've got a smiley face, but the person didn't have a smile on their face, did they? Because they were character 2, shotgun face of character 1. So alright, sorry, I've gone a little bit ahead of myself. Move that over there, and then I'll put a big close-up of character 1 there. Okay, and then what I'll do for shock, we'll put a little circle for their mouth, change that over to that, and there you go. But as you can see, what I'm doing here, guys, is I'm building up a very, very quick storyboard panels that I can then copy and paste and mess about with, and build them up very, very quickly. So this is a third option for you guys when it comes to making your storyboards. If you're not too fussed about adding detail in, and you don't want fancy sketches and things like that, this might be your first point of call, and then you can copy and paste your script into here as well, which might be very useful as a starting point. So let's have a quick look at that. There we go. So there's a shot on the character 1's face. Then we've got second character. Let's have a quick look on the shoulder. Close up, over the shoulder, character 2, shot on character 1's face. Point of view of the character. Close up, over the shoulder. Right, got you. So I've got this mixed up, so I'll move that over there, put that over there. And as you can see, what you can do is you can group your shapes as well. Group those together, and I'm going to put that out of shot, and I'm going to put this person here. Copy that, paste it over there. Oh. Here we go. That person. That should do it for now. So you've got over the shoulder shot of that person there. We've got second character, dramatic zoom, mid shot, close up. Is that one. And then what else do we have? Point of view, character 2, insert shot, close up of the cup with the teaspoon in there. So this is what we're going to copy. We're going to paste that in there. And if your sketches are not as hot as what aren't as good as well, I was going to say as hot as mine. Mine aren't hot at all. So if your sketches are as rough and sketchy as mine, this might be a really good way of building up your storyboards, because it gives you very, very basic shapes that allow you to kind of communicate that quick story. Whereas some of my sketches, as you can see earlier on in the session, they're really, really quite loose, and sometimes you can get hung up on what you on your sketch as opposed to what you're trying to convey within your panel. So the point of view of the character, insert shot. So that's what we're going to do, and as all we're doing here, guys, is using that basic shapes to and layering them up to make really basic images. Okay, so there's supposed to be the insert shot of the cup. You can centralize these images, these shapes. You can change the color. So this is coffee, so let's put it as a dark color, and then we're just working our way back, aren't we, from that story. I'm going to put a shape in there to suggest it's a teaspoon or something in there, and we've got bits of coffee granules floating in there as well. So I'll just do little darker splotches of coffee that's going in there. Copy them, zoom in a bit, make those a little bit smaller, and I'll just actually, what I'm going to do, and as you can see from the script, because the script gives us quite a good starting point to our story, I have written here, there's an insert shot showing the coffee granules floating in the cup. I'm going to just say with expensive looking teaspoon on the side of the saucer, and I'm also going to put here best cups and saucers. So what we're trying to do is buy into this character one, who's really taken a lot of time and effort in making this lovely cup of coffee for somebody. All right, so we're not going to have the teaspoon in the cup because it took the time to take that out, and we're also not going to have granules in the cup either because he or she has made the perfect cup of coffee in that person's eyes. So we're going to have that out, and we're going to put the spoon on the side. So we'll just quickly draw a quick spoon, and as you can see, it's quite easy to make things with Google Slides by just layering up these basic images. And it doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to communicate that idea. And remember, we've got our description on the bottom there as well, so that's not really causing too much of an issue. There we go. Okay, and then this is obviously the saucer there, right? Okay, so there we have it. We've got three panels there, from starting from the end, and then what we would do then, I'm not going to continue doing all the other panels, because you can see how this is actually getting built up, and all you would do is you would copy and paste the back panel there. I'll just quickly show you roughly what you would do for the next for the next panels for the storyboard, you would copy the box, you copy the description, and then you would paste it into the next one, and then you could just edit that text. You could group these here by right clicking and grouping them. You could copy that group there and paste it again and create more. Okay, and then you can create another one, and then you can just add more layers to it by working your way down. Once you've got your story all done and dusted, remember going from the end to the very beginning. So then what you can do is then you can start reorganizing your story. Okay, so you might start, let's say this is this is number 1, just for me. I'll just put a 1 in there just to show you. Put that text up to say 50 so you can see it a bit better. Centralize that. Get rid of these. Quickly show you this. So let's say that's going to be 3, 2, 1. Then all you would do with your panels, you would just swap them around quite easily. And as you can see, because we're working digitally and we haven't got our sketches, to do this, if you're doing it with your sketch, you would have to cut it out and reassemble it. Or you could use post-it notes. Post-it notes are really useful to do that if you were doing it by hand. But because we're using this new technique here, you can just move these around. And assemble your story, and then hopefully that gives you that nice narrative that we were looking for from the very beginning. Okay, so that's where I'm going to really stop with this activity. I think we've done enough to demonstrate what we were trying to achieve here. We've done a nice little script with that included a twist, and the twist we demonstrated at the end of the script, because what we did was we used a technique where we started with the story at its end and we worked our way back. So we've started at the end where the characters made, character 1 has made this lovely cup of coffee. They've went into a real detail in how they're presenting and selecting the right cup and selecting the right coffee for somebody, and they're spending a lot of time and effort on it. And then there's a big dramatic change to the story where the character that they're making the coffee for didn't want coffee at all, they wanted tea. So that's kind of just a little joke. There's a little comic script to try and demonstrate how we use twists and framing types within our storyboard. All right. And quickly looking back at a twist is a change to the expectation of where we think that story's going. Okay, so if you got to the end of this story, if you went through this narrative, the story, and you saw somebody making the coffee and putting all the effort into it, and then they get to the very end when they present the coffee to somebody, the twist is many people would expect that they go, "Oh, thank you very much, that's it." But they've created a bit of drama using the camera position, using the camera shots, extreme close-up of somebody's face, and being dissatisfied with what they've got, and we've created that drama there just by taking a really boring subject, a really boring kind of process, and turn it into a little bit of fun. All right, so that's that activity. I'm going to call it a day there on that activity, and maybe you guys could develop that, and maybe you could even use Google Slides as another option to build in your storyboards. I will be delivering some sessions on Google Drive. I have already done one yesterday, and that was the taster session. We have 5 more sessions of Google Drive where I go into different packages within that, and Google Slides is one of them. So if you wanted to know how to create basic infographics like that, or basic not storyboards per se, but how to use shapes within Google Slides to create some kind of basic designs and things like that, tune in to one of our sessions, to our sessions on Google Drive, and that will show you some techniques to how to achieve that. Okay, so that's the end of that activity. What we're going to look at now is we're going to look at a quick recap on our course. Okay, so if we quickly look back at where we started in session 1. I'll just highlight these and make these a little bit bigger for you. There you go. So session 1, we looked at audience and clarity. We looked at looking at a story on the looking at a story from the eyes of the audience, and how important that is, and how important clarity is. Now, if you fast forward into our session 5 today, clarity was a key point, and a key point that we could try to kind of focus on in our activity. Clarity wasn't so obvious in the first attempt at that activity, and then to try and focus our story and to try and bring a bit more clarity to that story, we started again and used a new technique to enhance that, and that technique was starting at the end of the story and working our way back. Session 2, we looked at shot lists and storyboarding and the relationship between the two, and we've done a live storyboarding activity. Session 3, we looked at the story itself and the character and the relationship between the two, emotions and how we can tie emotions in to our story, and how we can tie emotions in to our character that then us as an audience buy into. And then last session we looked at suspense and drama, which is quite important when it comes to giving interest to your story. Okay, and we looked at how to employ twists to our story today. So what are the main things that we've picked up on our course over the last 5 weeks? This course recap, which is kind of focuses on some of the key points that we've picked up along the way. So one of the important things is to see the story through the eyes of the audience, and that's really key, because we are audience members all the time watching films, and we always have our own opinions on films. But I think with the toolbox that we've picked up along the way, the different tools and techniques on how to create a good story, we can now be a little bit more critical when it comes to looking at film and media, and how our relationship as an audience develops through a story that gets presented in front of us. Okay, we also looked at clear communication and given one bit of information at a time. And if you go back to the first attempt of that activity that I tried to do live before our little break, we were telling more than one thing at a time, and things got a little bit confusing. So that's the reason why I decided to go back and employ a different technique in telling our story. Okay. Point 3 here is like looking at the story outline, and this is the point that Ian gave to us last week. He said, write down the script, even if it's really, really basic. Write it down so we know where we're going, and that's what we've done today. Before we drew our little storyboard there, and it's something we employed last week when it came to getting our head around the ideas and what we wanted to communicate in our stories. The information that gets passed on to the audience needs to be controlled, and that's one really key point that came about in one of our sessions, where we looked at who gets to know what kind of information first. Is it the audience? Is it the character? Is it both the audience and the character? And do they go along the journey together? We need to be mindful about that. We can't just give out the information willy-nilly. We need to understand what information we're given and to who and why. So that's a consideration we need to think about when we do our storyboards. Now, Ian mentioned a really, really important tip last week, and he said it's really important to understand your toolbox, okay? And I'm calling it a storyboarding toolbox. And there's a couple of examples here using your shot types, your scene types, using different methods of creating your storyboards, for example, your different camera movements and things like that. That's all part of your storyboarding toolbox, and you need to have as many tools in that box as possible for you to communicate your story to your audience. Okay, so learning doesn't stop here. There's lots and lots of other areas that you can go on, different areas online, different resources online that you can access to build up that toolbox, and I'll point you to those towards the end of the session that we're coming up to now. Storyboards help with our shot lists, and we had a really good conversation with Haytham a few weeks ago where he talked to us about the difference between storyboards and shot lists, and he said that we could use our storyboards to create our shot lists, and the shot list could be used to develop the story. Okay, so the shot lists are a bit more of a detailed description of the type of shots that we are looking to get when it comes to filming. So they're a really good preparation tool before we go to the filming section of our film, filming, the actual physical filming section, to a production. So it's the pre-production phase of your story, if you like. Okay, creating a character with a journey, that's really important as well, and that journey could be anything. The journey that we kind of demonstrated today was the journey of one character making a hot drink for another character, but it could be something a lot more interesting than that. It could be a character discovering well, like Chris Gardner, for example, in The Pursuit of Happiness, where his journey was trying to get a secure job so him and his son could live a happy, healthy life. So creating a character with a journey, and an interesting journey at that, is quite key to our storyboards there. Okay, we need to think about how you display your emotion, how your characters display their emotions, and we need to be quite clear with that as well. So, for example, if a character is looking sad, we need to try and demonstrate that through the character's facial expressions, maybe the body language. If they're sad, the shoulders might be hunched over, the head might be down, they might even be crying. If they're happy, they might have a nice smile on their face. The scene might be a little bit brighter as well. The sun might be shining, things like that. Okay, so these are all things that we can think about in terms of creating emotion within our scenes. Building suspense in our story. There was 5 points to that: music, motion, decisions, space and time. And then the last 2 points, which are really important: practice. We can only develop and get better with practice, and by looking at some of these techniques that we've covered over the last 5 weeks, if we practice these and learn more, we're going to obviously improve, and we're going to develop a lot stronger. And then watch all these different films, all these different dramas, and see if we can pick apart them, and see if we can see if there's any techniques that the directors and the filmmakers have used in order for us to kind of get hooked as an audience member, and see if we can kind of use those in our storyboards and in our kind of processes in order to deliver our story. Okay, so that's what we've kind of covered over the last 5 weeks. It's been quite an in-depth look. It's been quite interesting from my point of view as well, because there's been lots of learning that I've done along the way, and we've picked up and looked at loads and loads of different techniques there. What I would like to really look at now is what we do now. We're at the end of the course now. We've looked at loads and loads of different things, and there's probably lots and lots of ideas that we would like to go and explore further. Now, I've found a few different resources that I would like to show you, and the first one is this Skills Share course online. It's a free course online, and there's lots of storyboarding type courses that are free for you to access. Okay, so the first one I want to show you is this storyboarding course on Skillshare. I'm just going to pause that for 1 minute. The link, all of these links, as you can see, are on our presentation. And this one here, I'm just going to show you the first introduction to it, just a few minutes there, and it'll just give you an introduction to this course. That link is on our presentation. That'll be available once we finish this session for the day. Okay, so here's one of the signposts to further learning, and this will specifically look at sketching and drawing, okay, for your storyboards to enhance those skills. We've learned a lot of techniques and tips to build a story and a narrative, and now this is a really good kind of way of developing those hand sketching techniques. Okay, so just have a quick look at this. Like I said, it's a free course available online, and the link will be on our presentation that we'll supply once the session completes today.
Hi there, welcome to the class. I'm so glad that you enrolled, and I'm really excited that we're going to take this journey together to explore drawing for animation and storyboards. In this introduction video, I'm going to explain how the class is laid out so that you know what to expect, and I'll also give you some pointers on how to get the best out of it. So in the first few videos, I'm going to talk a little bit about drawing on paper. A lot of students in my other courses draw on paper, not in a digital format, and so I really wanted to take the opportunity here to share some tips and tricks that might help you in your drawing process, especially for storyboarding. And also I wanted to explain how to import your drawing into Photoshop if you wanted to take your hand-drawn art and then work on it in a digital format. Then the rest of the class is in 3 main sections: characters, backgrounds, and drawing sequences. When it comes to drawing characters, I'm going to show you the shorthand and the drawing conventions that are most widely used across the animation industry. I'll show you how to pose your characters and also how to draw emotion and strong character expressions. You don't need to be a character designer, but you will be able to take any character that's given to you and redraw it in a multitude of poses. Then in the section on backgrounds, I'll show you how to quickly and easily visualize a scene. I'll also give you a storyboard artist's overview of perspective. So what perspective is, when to use it in your work, and also why. In the last section, then, we'll look at how to put all of these drawing techniques together when we are drawing sequences for a storyboard. So that means what shots and angles you can use, what storyboard patterns are, and when you can use them, and then ultimately ways that you can understand the visual language of film so that you can come up with your own unique style for visualizing stories, for making films, and for animation. Throughout the class, there are assignments for you to do. You'll get to draw a character pose sheet, as well as drawing backgrounds, and at the end there's going to be a big class project. I'm going to give you what's called a fun pack and a script. So if you were working in an animation studio on a TV show, this is likely what you'd receive. A fun pack contains character designs as well as layouts, and I'll also give you a 1-page script that you will get to draw your very own storyboard from scratch. Okay, so there is a lot to cover. I'm really excited that you're here. I think this class is going to be an excellent addition to your existing visual and creative skill set, and this will open doors for you to further your work and even your career path.
Okay, so guys, that's a really good introduction into this drawing for storyboards, available on Skillshare. That's free, completely free for you guys to to access. Okay, you can get 7 days of skill. You can also get some 7 days of the premium version for free as well, but this is actually free and you don't need to sign up or pay anything for this. So that is one area that I would like to point you to for some more further learning and further development on storyboards. We've also got how to illustrate for children's pictures for a picture book, advanced storyboarding techniques, which is in an hour-long session there on the same Skillshare's website. And then we've got motion graphics and how to light characters and scenes. So there's some really good helpful courses that are available for free there for you guys. But having a quick look at all the classes, there's loads of other things here as well. We've got graphic design, fine art, music, photography, we've got animation as well. So there's lots and lots of things up there that is also available for you that isn't necessarily storyboards, but might be something of interest for you as well. So that's a really good little link there. The next one I would like to show you quickly, well, it's not that because that's the end of the session, is this. It is the Khan Academy link that allows, let's have a quick look here. Here we go. So this is a Khan Academy. Is that the right? Oh, I'm pointing it to the wrong one there. Let's just let me show you. So just bear with me 1 minute. I've linked that to the wrong thing. I'll copy that and in there to quickly show you. Yes. So this is Khan Academy. This is another free online resource, and there's some really good. There's a really good course on here. Pixar in a Box, the art of storytelling. Sorry, and there's loads and loads of different things here. And this is part of a wider course as well. Okay, and that link is there. It tells you, gives you an introduction. It gives you different activities. There's a good glossary at the back there. And then there's a character section, there's a story structure section, a visual language section, film and grammar, and it goes in more in depth. And that link is also available on our there we go, on our presentation. Just updated that link now there, so that's up to date. Okay, what else do we have on offer from Media Savvy? We have, like I mentioned throughout this session today, we have got a Google Drive course going. We had a taster session yesterday, and that is available online on our YouTube video. But we also have the first of the 5-week sessions starting next Thursday from 1 o'clock till 3. Okay. That might be worthwhile for you guys who are looking at who work from home and they're looking at an online cloud-based package that is free and allows you to share files and use word processing, spreadsheets, and presentation style documents. Okay, so I'll be presenting that, and if you want to know a little bit more about that course, go on online now to our YouTube channel and you'll see the taster session that kind of briefly gives you an overview as to what you can expect for to learn over the next 5 weeks. Okay, we've also got a level 1 IT user skills course coming. That's an accredited course, IT user skills, and that's delivered by our senior tutor Lisa. If you want to learn more about that, Lisa's details are here. They're on our presentation. You can just send her an email and she'll be able to give you a bit more information about that course, and that's due to start in mid-June. Okay, we've got some further learning here as well for general learning. I'm just going to quickly point you to that now. I found this website today which I thought was quite cool. It's called Creative Learning, and it says finding better ways to feel happier, and there's free online courses here where you can learn new skills and techniques. Okay, there's some paid courses on there, but there's also some free ones as well. And let's have a quick look to see what we can find quickly. Let's see what we have here. There's discover mindful living, discover emotions, discover yourself. Lots and lots of different mindful type courses you can enroll for free. And as we have discovered during lockdown, mindfulness and mental well-being is very, very important to our physical health. Positive mental well-being is very, very important, and this might be a really good resource for you to explore further to try and pursue that. What else do we have? We have this last final website I would like to show you before we wrap up for today's session. And I'll quickly put that link there for you as well. Here we go. And it was I found this a few days ago, and it's highlighted 23 23 resources online that have different free resources. Okay, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but as you can see, there's TED Eds there, there's BBC podcast, the University of Oxford podcasts. Now I've used this one myself a few years ago, and there was a mindful podcast series that I was really into at the time and really got a lot from, and that I found that really useful. That was free. And there's lots and lots of others. Okay, so if you're interested in further learning, that's a really, really cool little website that kind of signposts you further there. All right, so that brings us to the end of our 5-week course in storyboarding today. It doesn't go into how to do really fantastic looking drawings or anything like that. It gives you the basic fundamentals that you can then take and use to build a unique and exciting story, and it gives you some of the industry techniques that the industry guys use to try and to build your story, to try and get across your message, and some of the considerations that we need to think about. Okay, we've looked at different tools that we can use to create our storyboard. So we've looked at hand sketching. I just quickly showed you there how we use a kind of a presentation style kind of bit of software like PowerPoint or Google Slides to create a really rough storyboard. And then we've also looked at online resources such as Storyboard that have preloaded characters, scenes, etc., that you can really quickly build up your storyboards. If you're looking at specific sketching type storyboard courses, I would really recommend that Skillshares, that first link up there. That was I looked at a few different courses, and this looked to be one of the strongest ones out there at the minute, and it's free. And the Khan Academy is really good as well to give you some more industry tips and techniques by some really cool guys that work in the industry. Okay, but that is the end of the course, I'm afraid. I hope you've really enjoyed it. I hope you've got a lot from it. Please feel free to give us some feedback, and to do that you would need to go to our survey and quickly fill in our survey there. That is a really quick and basic survey that kind of logs your experience with our 5-week course. Please fill in our enrollment form as well if you've listened to these courses or these classes for storyboarding, because these courses are only able to be put on for you guys because we have funding from the National Lottery. Okay, so this course is funded by the National Lottery, and in order to demonstrate our interaction with our learners, we need to have the people who are learning our courses to fill in our enrollment form, so we can demonstrate to our funders that we're doing what we're saying we should be doing. Okay, and again, we've got a very basic form there. Just fill in your basic details, send that back to us. Our email address will be on our YouTube page, and all those links are there as well. Okay, I'll upload this this course now. I'll upload this course presentation, the full presentation. I'll make that available on our YouTube page, and you can download that. The links are all interactive, and they'll take you to the links that we've been using throughout the 5-week course. But apart from that, guys, I think that's the end of the session. Any more feedback or anything that you would like to learn about any of our further courses, please stay tuned on our social media, and that's where we communicate all of our sessions that are coming up. Okay, but for now, have a great weekend. Thank you for interacting, and we'll see you again very shortly. Okay, see you later.